All right, so section 5.1 also has a second new basic function. It's called the reciprocal square function. Very similar to what you just saw in the previous videos for the reciprocal function. The difference is in the denominator I have an x squared. So I'm going to use the same table of x values. So again, be copying this down so you can see the values when we switch over to the other board. We're going to put in 2, 1, a half, 0, negative a half, negative 1, negative 2. This time in the denominator we square. So when I square 2, when I put 2 in the denominator, 2 squared is 4, so I have 1 over 4. When I put 1 in the denominator, 1 squared is 1, so I've got 1 over 1. When I put a half in the denominator, so again, just like previously, I put 1 over, and then I've got a half squared. So when I square a half, I get 1 over 4. Reciprocated becomes 4. 0 in the denominator is undefined. Again, we are going to have a vertical asymptote at the x value 0. When I put negative a half in, now we're squaring. So negative a half times negative a half becomes positive 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. And negative, when I put negative 2 squared in, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, and it's in the denominator. So now we're going to come over to my graphing board, and we are going to graph these values. So once again, when I come over here, when I put 2 in, I get 1/4. So I'm just going to do a dot that's pretty close to the x-axis. When I put 1 in, I get 1. And when I put a half in, I get 4. So you can see that goes up very fast. I've got a vertical asymptote here right in the middle along the y-axis. So I'm going to make a nice cute dotted line here. And then on the other side, when I go back a half, I go up 4, back 1, up 1, back 2, up a 4th. And so again, the graph will never touch the y-axis or the x-axis. The x-axis is another horizontal asymptote. I'll make a dotted line there in just a minute. And then same thing on this side right here. So here's my horizontal asymptote. The graph is never going to go through the x-axis either. An observation about this, 2 things. First, if I folded this along the y-axis, the 1 over x squared is an even function. I didn't mention it in the previous video, but if you took your graph of 1 over x and rotated it 180 degrees, it would be the same. And I know you're thinking it. That means the 1 over x function is odd. Another thing about this, when I go to find my domain, notice left and right, the furthest left this graph is going to go is negative infinity. But then what I have to do is I have to let everybody know that this x value 0 will never have a y value. So my domain is going to go from negative infinity to 0, parenthesis, because it'll never be equal, union 0 to infinity. So notice I've got that gap there where the vertical asymptote is. And then the range of this graph, well, it never goes below the x-axis, so the lowest value is 0. Parenthesis, because it'll never equal, and then to infinity. So the furthest up is going to go is infinity. Those are the attributes of the reciprocal square graph.